Hello YouTube, hi and welcome back to another video. So Cartethia's official kit is finally out, and first of all guys, take a look at this. I mean, how long is this? This is like really long, so I have broken it down completely as you can see right here. And so before we get on to that, so let's just check out her animations. So what are her combat roles mentioned? As a main damage dealer, Aero, erosion, damage amplification, traction. So these are her normal attacks. So let's check out this animation. Okay, that's looking like a heavy attack, and that one is a plunge attack definitely. And these are her basic attack. Okay, resonance skill, and then we know the resonance liberation. Okay, so first liberation she just transform into fleur-de-lis, and then in the second one that is Excalibur. Okay, let's check out next animation. Okay, and Forte circuit. So looking like Forte circuit is all about just fleur-de-lis attacks. Okay, resonance skill 1 and that is 2. So this is looking like a mid-air attack, and these are her basic attacks. Okay, and there was a heavy attack on ground, I guess. And then her intro skill, fleur-de-lis intro, and Cartethia's intro skill. And as for the outro skill, okay, there is no need for you guys to read through all this. This is like huge yap fest. So I have broken down this whole kit like easily, and let's take a look at that now. So Cartethia's basic attack string, which does up to 4 hits, can summon Sword 2, and it applies 1 stack of Aero erosion on the hit target. So let's take, these are her basic attack animation, and after that you see there that sword she summoned. And then there is her heavy attack, which can summon Sword 2. It can also be summoned from her intro skill, and it counts as basic attack damage. And then we have her skill, which can summon Sword 3. It also counts as basic attack damage. So her skill applies 2 stacks of Aero erosion. And then her mid-air attack can activate all these swords, and it counts as Aero erosion damage. As we can see, like that was her mid-air attack. And then now we are on her liberation. So the moment you tap on her liberation after activating those 3 swords via her plunging attack, she transforms into fleur-de-lis and enters the manifest state. Then clear the Forte of fleur-de-lis and consumes 50% of max HP, but she's not gonna consume any if she is below 50% HP, okay? And in manifest, so like remember the 3 swords that I mentioned. So here's the thing, this is what they do exactly. So the sword one is going to spread erosion on nearby enemies equal to the highest stack on hit enemies. So if fleur-de-lis hits an enemy with like 2 erosion stacks, then she's gonna apply 2 erosion stacks to all the enemies nearby, okay? And then her sword 2, Aero erosion damage interval reduce. Okay, so the Aero erosion like dot damage is like going to be happen more often, and enemies takes more erosion damage. Sword 3, certain attacks stagnate enemy. So stagnate is basically just a freeze state kind of, and gain increased interruption res. Remove all swords when exit manifest. So these all 3 swords buff are gonna be removed when she like does the Excalibur attack. We're gonna talk about this here. So when she is in the manifest state, basically in fleur-de-lis form, she can freely transform into Cartethyia and fleur-de-lis, and it's actually important. We can talk about that later. Fleur-de-lis attacks gain Forte, then do Excalibur. So they're like everything fleur-de-lis is gonna do, she's gonna fill up her Forte bar, and when it's full you're gonna have a different ult, like the second ult animation where she does the Excalibur thing, you know. So Excalibur is going to remove all erosion stacks plus 20% damage per stack, remove up to 5 erosion stacks, okay? And after she does her Excalibur, the second ultimate, she's gonna transform back to Cartethiya, heal the 50% of max HP back again, which she consumed while using her Liberation, and then exit Manifest state and cleared Flirtless Forte. Okay, so Cartethiya's intro is going to summon Sword 1, exactly the same one which she summons by her heavy attack, and then she's gonna apply 2 erosion on the hit target, and with like intro into Flirtless she just does some arrow damage. Okay, and after using her outro skill, the active resonator other than Cartethiya, okay, does more arrow damage to enemy with negative status. So negative status basically just any debuffs like spectrofrazzle, arrow erosion, all that kind of like debuffs, like they are just going to take more arrow damage. And now about her inherent skills. You see, this is where things get interesting. So all resonator in the team other than Cartethiya gets increased healing and get interruption res. And if rover is in the team, then rover gains 25 forte after casting resonance liberations. So this is really not that big. The thing is, actually this is the main part, like the second inherent skill. So targets with 1 2 3 erosion stacks, so it doesn't matter 1 2 or 3. Okay, they are just going to take straight up 30% more damage from both Cartethiya and Flirtless. But hear me out, like check this. Targets take 10% more damage for each erosion stack up to 3 stacks. So we are gonna need 6 stacks of erosion on enemy to maximize her damage. And let's see how many stacks Cartethiya can apply by herself. So 2 erosion stacks from her intro skill, and then 2 from her skill, and then 1 from her basic attack. So we have 5 erosion stacks that Cartethiya can apply. So that is definitely enough to max out this passive, where she gets plus 20% damage for per erosion stack on the enemy up to 60%. But it's not going to max out this passive, and that is where this part comes into play. Can freely transform into Cartethiya or Flirtless into her liberation. So when she first transforms into Flirtless, you can switch back to Cartethiya to apply arrow erosion stacks. Yep, you heard it right. And that is why you have no need for Ciaccona. Also, like when it comes to Ciaccona, why you might still need her, let me tell you why. So I am not sure if you are gonna like doing this much switching, like back to Cartethiya, apply erosion, then back to Flirtless. Personally, I'm not a fan of this, but if you don't have Ciaccona, that is exactly what you're gonna have to do. But if you have Ciaccona, you know, she can apply a lot of arrow erosion stacks by herself, and you're never gonna need to switch back to Cartethiya to apply arrow erosion stacks. And if you do not have Ciaccona, check this out. This is where things are kind of messed up, I think. So Flirtless basic attack 5, mid-air stage 2, and her enhanced heavy attack. Also, she have 2 resonance skills in Flirtless state, so her second resonance skill as well. They can spread arrow erosion. Okay, so basically the thing that the sword one stuff. Okay, this one. So these same attacks that can spread arrow erosion stacks, they also consume it. Yep, in Flirtless state. So these are like these same attack strings are going to both remove the arrow erosion stacks and spread them as well. So I'm not sure what exactly is going to happen first. Like, is she gonna first remove the stacks, or is she gonna spread them? I really hope that she is first spreading the stacks and then removing them. You need 6 arrow erosion stacks on the enemy to maximize this like inherent skill too. But in the base form, we can only apply up to 3 arrow erosion stacks on the enemy, so you are gonna need arrow rover. So if you know, like arrow rover's outro increase the arrow erosion stacks on the enemy that can be applied by 3. So yep, you're gonna need arrow rover in her team, because without arrow rover you cannot access this inherent skill 2 completely, and you are also gonna be missing out on this damage. And now the main question, does she need Ciaccona? So from what I can see, Ciaccona is definitely going to be really important for her, but like not necessary. You can make Cartethiya work without Ciaccona, but the thing is, as I said, you're gonna have to do a lot of switching. When you're in flirtless form, you're gonna have to switch back to Cartethiya to apply more Aero erosion stacks, and then back to flirtless, do her ult. So what it's gonna do is it's gonna make your rotations longer. So longer rotations and like a lot of switching, I personally I'm not really a fan of that, but maybe you are actually gonna have to do that if you didn't pull for Ciaccona. But if you have Ciaccona, then you are like completely fine. You can play Cartethiya easily. Like you are not gonna need to switch back to Cartethiya to apply Aero erosion, because you know Ciaccona in her ultimate can apply like continuously Aero erosion stacks for Flood list, so that she can just have full uptime on this inherent skill 2 and her Excalibur attack. In conclusion, you don't really need Ciaccona for Cartethiya to work. Okay, this is not a Zani Phoebe situation again, I can assure you that much. So if you just don't have Ciaccona, the thing you're gonna have to do is just a lot of switching back to Cartethiya and back to Fleur-de-Lis again. But if you don't want to do that, then just get Ciaccona, that's all I can say. And also, without Ciaccona, I am not really sure if you're gonna be able to have full uptime on this her Excalibur attack buff and then her inherent skill 2 buff. But with Ciaccona in team, you can continuously apply Aero erosion on the enemy and then just have full uptime on her Excalibur attack and inherent skill 2. If you want to play Cartethiya comfortably, then I would highly recommend just get Ciaccona. But if you are okay with switching back to Cartethiya from Fleur-de-Lis to apply Aero erosion, then I think you don't really need to pull Ciaccona if you're okay with that. So on Cartethiya's release day, the best team you can make for her is with Ciaccona and Aero rover, because you really need Aero rover's outro and Ciaccona for the Aero erosion stacks. And after all that, let's check out her signature weapon. So as you can see, it gives attack 412 and it gives HP percentage, bro. 72.2% HP on this sword for Cartethiya. So what could this possibly mean? She is HP scaling, yep. And so let's check out what does this sword do. And then max HP increase by 12%. Okay, how much HP does she need even? Like 72 there, and then there's 12 more. So 15 seconds after casting intro skill or basic, ignores 8% of the target's defense. Okay, so we got some defense ignore in this. And if the target has at least one stack of Aero erosion, the target's damage taken is amplified by 20%. So now about this sword, I don't think we have any HP percentage sword in the game right now, do we? I don't think so. So if you're not pulling for this one, the only option that you're gonna have is the standard sword, which provides crit rate, and I'm pretty sure she's definitely gonna need that. But it's really surprising that she is going to be our first HP scaling unit. Anyways, I don't really think that you like this sword is a must pull. If you like don't have enough pulls, then I would say just use the standard sword. I think that's gonna be fine. And after getting her on day 1, I think I can cook up a rotation. Like, okay, after intro, she is going to summon Sword 1, okay, and then you just use her full basic attack string to summon Sword 2, and then just use her skill to summon Sword 3. So now we have all 3 swords, and we just activate all 3 swords with her plunging attack or mid-air attack, whatever you want to call that. So after activating all these 3 sword buffs, you just use her liberation, transform into Fleur-de-Lis, and in Fleur-de-Lis state she is gonna have 2 skills available. So just do her 2 skills, just spam her basic attack until her Forte is completely full, and after Fleur-de-Lis Forte is full, then just do her second ult, which is the big one, the Excalibur attack, and after that you just outro. So yep, that's gonna be her rotation: intro, basic attack, full string, and then skill, plunging attack, activate all 3 swords, and then transform into Fleur-de-Lis, do X2 skill for Fleur-de-Lis, and just keep attacking with Fleur-de-Lis basic attack until your Forte is full, and when it's full you're gonna have Excalibur Ultimate available, and just use that and then outro. But there's definitely going to be a more optimal way to get her full forte, like the fastest, like, and without even spamming the basic attack only, but we'll see that after I get her. So that was Cartethia's kit. So I tried my best to give you guys a breakdown of Cartethia's kit so that you guys don't have to read this insane yep fest. So anyways, if you found this video helpful, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and let me know down in the comments what do you think about Cartethia's kit, and are you going to be pulling for her sword, and are you maybe pulling for some sequences as well. Anyways, that's gonna be it for this video. I'll see you in the next one. Have a good day and bye bye.